I made my first trip to Miami this weekend, got to cover the team in the press box, and what an experience it was.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I've been podcasting about the Marlins for almost 3 years now. Go hit me up on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, leave a like, and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. And on today's show, as always, I am joined by LMF, Loud Miami fan. We're going to talk about my trip to Miami. It was awesome. Just give you my thoughts, my experience. Talk about the walk-off grand slam by Kyle Stowers in Saturday's game. Break down the Retrowave uniforms and also take a look ahead to next week's slate of games. But before all that, I want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. LMF, welcome in. How are we doing?
Beautiful Monday morning here in South Florida. I can say you're still here in South Florida. The flight takes off in a little bit after recording this. So nice meeting you this weekend in person. They definitely put on a show for you and for us who were there on Saturday. And you know what? They put on a show Sunday as well. Fortunately, didn't end in a win, but hope you had a great time down here and looking forward to your stories.
It was awesome. And I want to preface this by thanking you for gifting me the ticket on Friday's game. So Friday, I showed up to the ballpark and I was a fan. LMF gave me his ticket for that game. It was an awesome view and I got to experience the game from a fan perspective. So really grateful for that.
I'm glad you enjoyed. That is my season ticket seat. I've had it for about 3 years now, the single seat. I'm able to add the wife in when she joins me at games or a friend when they join. But it's a good seat, good view behind home plate and first or the dugout, I should say. It puts you right in the action just over the PNC. And what was it like as a fan versus as a media member?
Yeah, as a fan, so I got to the stadium really early, like 30 minutes before the gates technically opened. And they let me in. I mean, I was so excited, to get to the ballpark. I show up, the Uber drops me off. I see the home run sculpture. I'm like, man, I'm really here. The Orange Bowl letters. I go through the stadium, and I just walk around. I'm like, this place is beautiful. That was kind of the first thing that came to mind. Very clean, very, very nice, a very nice stadium. And the second thought that came to my mind was, why won't many other people come? This stadium rocks, and traditionally there hasn't been a lot of Marlin fans showing up to games, but on Sunday there was a lot. It was Star Wars Day and the crowd was into it. They were engaged, but being a fan on Friday was just awesome, just to sit back and just enjoy baseball. I know the Marlins lost, unfortunately, but Dane Myers hit a home run that got me standing, applauding. And it's always fun to go to the game, win or lose. It's always Marlins. Let's go fish,
The stadium brings a nice perspective to traditional baseball fans and fans are expecting a little bit more. It's what made the stadium special, especially when they first opened it, was no matter where you stand in the stadium, you can see the baseball game. Whether you're at a concession stand or walking around near the new Norwegian firework area with the cafecitos. No matter where you are, basically, now that the home run structure is no longer there, you can see the game from anywhere. And that was very futuristic. Now it is baseball. You got a beautiful weekend because I think Friday night you had no roof open, or the roof was open, no roof. Beautiful, not a cloud in the sky, just a nice Miami 305 type of night and vibe with the wind. Saturday was the afternoon game. You got the roof closed, and Sunday there were thunderstorms and you had the roof closed. So full baseball experience for you in South Florida.
Yeah, it literally was. It was kind of everything encompassed into one game, or one series rather. The final two games of the series, I was in the press box. I got to cover the team. I got on-field access pregame, so I was in the dugout, got to ask Clayton McCullough a question in his pregame, kind of deal in the dugout. That was really cool. And just to be able to watch Sandy Alcantara, Yuri Perez throw some bullpens from a close angle, that was really exciting. Some batting practice from the A's. I know Nick Kurtz, he was absolutely going off in batting practice, and then on Sunday's game, he hit the triple that ultimately put the A's in a position to take the series. But man, when I just sit back and I'm just very grateful, I'm very happy to have made it down. Being a kid and watching this team from afar, and I know that applies to a lot of fans out there who may not live in the area in which their favorite team resides. It was a dream come true to walk around the stadium and be like, I've watched hundreds of games of Marlins baseball in this park, and now I'm actually here. It was a surreal feeling. It really was.
It's wonderful that you got that. And again, you got to experience different than many will ever. And that's from a media perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the former host's tweet that got you in touch with the Marlins, or was that planned a couple days ahead?
That was actually planned a couple days ahead. I knew when Peter tweeted that I had already coordinated with John Eric, really, really nice guy. He's the Marlins PR representative there. And I just asked him, I'm like, hey, is it cool if I get media access for Saturday and Sunday? Would that be a possibility? And he got me the access, and it was very easy. Got to talk to some guys from Fish on First who are there covering the team. They showed me a little bit. Daniel Rodriguez showed me the ropes a little bit. Then it was fun. You go up in the press box, you got your laptop, and you're just watching the game from kind of a bird's eye view, because you're definitely up there. You can see the entire stadium. You see the trajectory of the ball on home runs or flyouts, pop outs, and you kind of know what's going on. I'm trying my best to give out updates, and it was just an awesome experience that I'm definitely going to remember. I'm also going to remember that game on Saturday, because that was one of the best baseball games and endings to a baseball game that I can remember ever seeing. And I've been a Marlins fan for a while. LMF, you've been a Marlins fan for a long time. That was spectacular. I'm going to talk about that ending to Saturday's game right after this. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and you wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. And if you're an everyday listener to Locked On Marlins, I do appreciate you tuning in. If this is your first episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other future episodes. And I'm joined, as always, for Monday's episodes by Loud Miami Fan. We are talking about Saturday's game, the walk-off grand slam that sent everybody home happy. Kyle Stowers was the hero. You were at that game. That was the game in which you were at. You had the hat on. You were right behind home plate. I could hear you start the "Let's Go Marlins" chant from the press box. What a game to be at and just to witness.
It is something that I think as Marlins fans, we've only got to witness 6 times in the history, a walk-off grand slam. I've seen it before. I think it was Cliff Floyd when I saw it, or Jeremy Hermita, one of the two. I forget, way back in the day. But it's something that I haven't seen in a long time. My last walk-off was the Garrett Cooper walk-off in 2021. Home run, that is. I was at
Hmm.
opening day as well. But the last walk-off home run that I've seen is then. So it's always a nice experience when you get that final hit, that crack of the bat, the crowd goes wild. At that point, I was moved away from the front row, which weren't my exact seats, but I was moved
Right.
back about 8 rows, so you didn't get me on camera, but I was definitely jumping up, screaming. It was a wonderful experience. Kyle Stowers has just been on fire. I mean, no one's hitting better than him right now on the team, but him and Dane Myers put on a show this weekend, really showing that outfield and the youth out there, really, getting some outfield assists. Their arms are doing well. Just overall, that was a great game. You got to bring in the brand new colors. You see the
Yeah.
jersey behind me, the custom jersey. You and I both didn't plan this, but we're both wearing these awesome 305 hats. And I don't care or understand why people would say, oh, it's ugly. Why would they wear the 305? Well, let me explain. Miami is 305. Yes, they're also 786. But since the beginning of time, Miami and South Florida was 305. Broward County turned into 954, 754, but 305 has stuck around via Pitbull, via Sir Mix-a-Lot songs. A lot of songs over time reference the 305, and boy, did they rep these new outfits in a great way, all in Miami style.
They looked so good in those Retrowave uniforms. I mean, you see the leaks on Twitter or the internet, and then you saw the release when the Marlins, put out their promotion earlier in the week. But then you get to the ballpark and you see it in person, and it just looked fabulous. I think my favorite part was the batting helmets. The batting helmets
Yeah.
were super cool, and these hats I think that look great. I'm obviously rocking one right now. LMF is too. The batting practice hats, I think they did a very good job.
They really did. And, the first glimpse we got about 2 months ago when someone leaked these jerseys, and I think that, including myself, weren't really wowed by them, right?
Right.
At the first time. But after they did their release, you gain it a little bit more, and then you're like, you know what? These colors, they represent Miami vibe, Miami flavor. They go into the history of what is what on the lettering and what uh, uh, the lines mean. Doing a little bit of a backwards pinstripe there, going left right instead of up down on half the jersey. And really, if you look at the history of the team, these represent Miami a little bit more than what the Sugar Kings jerseys were. And the Sugar Kings were one of the original five, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were beautiful in their own way. But this is more Miami vibe. This is more, bringing you to the deco art style and bringing you down to even the musical portion of it. So I'm very happy with whoever designed these. We get them for 3 years, and I hope that in the future we get some orange and green to really represent where that stadium is, what the history of the Orange Bowl used to be on those hallowed grounds. That we will be winning a championship there in the next 5 years, maybe.
Oh man, that is going to be epic because there's nothing I want more than the Marlins to win a World Series. And to do that, they need to establish a core of players who can be a part of their future. And Kyle Stowers, who hit that grand slam, is certainly looking the part of a cornerstone player. That was the first walk-off grand slam since Giancarlo Stanton back in 2014 against the Seattle Mariners. And what's special about that to me is that was the first day that I essentially became a Marlins fan. I didn't really know a ton about baseball. I was starting to get into baseball the year before, and in 2014 I was watching baseball, and at that point I was watching the Marlins and Mariners, knew nothing about the Marlins, and I see Giancarlo Stanton hit this walk-off grand slam. I'll never forget it. And ever since then, I became a diehard Marlins fan. So when I saw that fact pointed out, that was the first walk-off grand slam, I was like, that's incredible, because that was the first day it all came full circle that I was in the press box covering the team on that day. It was awesome. And what's funny is that ninth inning, the Marlins were down 6-4, and one of the best closers in baseball, Mason Miller, is coming in the game, throwing 103 miles per hour, strikes out Dane Myers on a fastball, perfectly painted. There's 2 outs, and you feel a little bit hopeless. You're like, well, the Marlins are going to lose again. And then he walks, and Xavier Edwards battles, and Ronnie Simon battles. Great at bats, and suddenly the bases are loaded. And I'm sitting there, and I had put my laptop in my bag because I was like, there's really nothing more to tweet out. And then I take it back out, and Kyle Stowers is up to the plate, and he hits a laser. And from my vantage point, I just see this ball carrying and carrying. And now in the media, in the press box, you're not supposed to really, cheer or show a ton of emotion. But that ball gets to about 10 feet away from the fence, and I realize that ball's going out. That baby's gone. And I jump out of my chair. I'm like, let's go. And, oh, man, just incredible. Like, one of the best Marlins moments I can remember.
Did anybody in the press box kind of calm you down a little bit? Saying,
Daniel Rodriguez did. He was sitting down. He was like, sit down. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I just got quiet, and I just took my phone out. And I'm like, I'm just, if this was at home, I'd be screaming because that was just awesome. I mean, what a game.
If they kicked you out for that, never let you back in, what a way to go out in a blaze of glory like that. But,
right.
They were probably happy with that, giving you that experience as well. You hear Kyle Seeloff and Jack both had great coverage of the hits. Don't know if you've watched them back on X.
Yeah, I have. Excellent calls.
They both had great calls, and they're jumping up screaming. So why not you two, right?
Right.
Well worth it.
It was just an incredible moment, a really good game. Max Meyer, to quickly touch on him, that was he the first start in his professional career. He didn't strike out anybody. I tweeted that out. There was no strikeouts. I mean, I tweeted his final line, 5 innings. He had 10 hits, I believe. And I got to the last part, 0 strikeouts. And I was looking at that. That's really weird. And somebody else, Daniel and Fish on the Farm said that was the first time ever throughout the minors he hadn't struck out anybody. I looked at his location. It was middle the whole game. And the A's capitalized. They hit 3 bombs off him, off of 3 sliders. So at first it was a little bit disheartening. I felt like the story of the game was going to be Max Meyer just doesn't have the right stuff, and he gets kind of knocked around the ballpark. But this team does not quit. That is the one thing I will always say about the 2025 Marlins. Whether their record is above 500 or under 500, one thing you cannot deny is their fight. They're the fighting fish, and they're the fighting fish for a reason, because they don't give away their at-bats. They're always going to go up, like Clayton McCullough said, with a plan. They want to have a plan. And in that moment, in that specific at-bat, Kyle Stowers was ready for the moment. He hit a 101.7 mile per hour fastball. So 102 for a player that has struggled to hit fastballs throughout his career. He absolutely turned a corner and sent Miami into a frenzy.
You brought up Max on Saturday night, and you could tell from the beginning of the game for the first home run that he just didn't have that slider being located. And then the J.J. Bleday home run, kind of deflated the stadium a little bit. Good for J.J., giving it back to his old team. You always wonder if the players come in with if they've been traded or something, have a shadow on their back, saying they want to make a statement. And he did tell the Fish on First team in an interview that, he wants to play better when he comes to play here, just to stick it to the team. And he definitely did. Bad location both times. You really saw Max kind of have to play around with his other pitches, and they weren't anything spectacular. But he was able to get through 5 innings at least. His second not so great start in a row. Of course, the previous one in Seattle, where he only lasted, I think, 3 innings, the previous start. But you know what? He's a young guy, and he's going to continue to grow over time. And He didn't really have a full season in the majors yet. Last season, up and down. This is his first opportunity to really be here without having in the back of his head, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? He's probably the most consistent pitcher. Sunday, you got Edward Cabrera, Bad Eddie to start the game with the walk, but really calm down and really, you know what? If he pitches like that and can give you 5-6 innings every game, you know what? You take what you get with Eddie. Unfortunately, gave up a few runs early, which came back and haunted them. We did come back, ultimately losing 3-2 last night, unfortunately. But really, the tale of pitching is really setting the standard of where this team is. And you mentioned identity of the team as far as at bats are concerned. Which may I tell your listeners and your watchers, please go check out Jeremiah's questioning. It's posted on X and on the YouTube channel. He really does ask a great question to the manager. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's a good 3 to 5 minutes of a response on an answer to Jeremiah. And Jeremiah's hard asked question, the one that he got in there. So make sure to go add him and go on the YouTube and watch that. But he's talking about, you asked the identity of who they are. I think the pitching is the identity of what they're not, and that's a team with starting pitching right now, unfortunately. And that's kind of scary because we used to be the team that was all about pitching and didn't have the hitting, didn't have the bats. And our guys aren't even batting that well, right? They're batting okay. They're just, like, I'm not complaining, right? They're putting runs up,
Right.
But Augustine has taken a step backwards. They've caught on to him as he has to now make adjustments. Connor Norby's only hit 1 home run. Jesus Sanchez has only hit 1 home run. He's not even in the games anymore. He came in to do a pinch hit yesterday for Ronnie Simon. So really, if this team could gel and put up more runs, maybe give a little less pressure to those starting pitchers from the beginning. I'm not talking comeback every time. I'm talking gets 5 runs up at a 5 spot in the first couple innings. Maybe that will allow the pitching to take a breather here or there to kind of relax in. But it all does start with Sandy.
And Sandy will be pitching on Monday's game. We're going to take a look ahead to that start. Can Sandy bounce back? And this upcoming week, what is in store for these fish? That's coming up right after this. And this episode is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results, so they find you the right type of talent. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, multiple qualified candidates are available to choose from. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. But remember, if you're on the go, if you're at the gym, driving your car, we're available everywhere you get your podcast: Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, pretty much the whole thing. So don't forget, you can watch on YouTube, but you can also listen to the audio version. We're going to take a quick look ahead, LMF and I, at what's in store for the Marlins this week. It doesn't get any easier because coming to town are the mighty Dodgers once again. We just got out of LA and we got swept, and now we got to face these guys once more. But it's a good opportunity as well for Sandy Alcantara. He is itching to get back on the mound. I can tell he wants to prove that he is back, that he can deliver better results than what we've seen, and he gets a second crack at the Dodgers. LMF, what's your initial thoughts as we head into this game?
There was a similar situation back in 2023 where Sandy pitched against the Dodgers and didn't fare so well. His next start was also against the Dodgers. I think it was there, though, and not here. The second start was in LA, and he went 7 innings, I believe, and 7 good innings, like only giving up a run if they run. So I expect the comeback of Sandy Alcantara to really show that he can be dominant against a great team. It is like going against an all-star team. Let's not forget that. This
Yeah.
Dodger team scored 34 runs on us in 3 games last week. This is not a joke. However, either is Sandy, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt pitching at home. Let's get Sandy's Beach going. Let's get out to the stadium for the game tonight and really show some love to our Cy Young winning Sandy.
It's a great opportunity against a really good team. Like you said, this isn't a typical MLB lineup. This is composed of all-stars up and down the board. Mookie Betts, Ohtani, Freeman. There's MVPs in this lineup. And that's exactly what Sandy wants. He wants to face the best competition. You know, the Sandy we've seen over the last couple weeks, it's worrisome, but I know that the Cy Young winning Sandy is still in there. He still has the ability on any given night to go out and get 7-8 innings of shutout ball, 1-run ball, and dominate a lineup. I watched him throw a bullpen on Saturday morning. So he was on the mound. He was rocking the Retrowaves. And, I mean, his arm looked good to me. He was doing a drill with runners going from first base to second, holding the runner. And it was great to see Sandy just throw a bullpen in person live. He's an incredible pitcher who's not off to the best starts, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So I want the best for him. I want the best for the Marlins. And I'd like to see these guys compete against the Dodgers. I know that in the back of their minds, they're thinking, we just got blown out by these guys 2 out of 3. But they can also remember that first game in which they battled back down 5-0, tied it, and barely lost in extra innings. That type of Marlins is in there too. And those guys can absolutely compete. I'd like to see a competitive series against a very formidable opponent. And then in the weekend LMF, we have the White Sox. You can't sleep on any team in professional baseball, but you go up to Chicago. It's a road trip. You don't really play against the White Sox at their place too often. It's a unique environment. The last time the Marlins played up there was 2 years ago. Gene Segura, I believe, hit a home run in that series. And that name, Gene Segura, should tell you just how long ago it was.
Well, that series was also Tim Anderson's last year in Chicago. He had a couple errors which gave the Marlins a late inning lead or the win. In 2 out of those 3 games, there were a couple errors that really gave the Marlins the win of that series. This wasn't the 120-plus loss team, White Sox, but it was the year that was leading up to it. It's a very strange schedule in May right now. We got through the heart of April, which was tough. Coming now into May, look, Oakland's no slouch. They spent a lot of money this offseason, and they played like it. They got some rookies that are really good and some veterans that are really good and signed some good pitching. Now you face Los Angeles Dodgers again, and you go to the White Sox, and then you have the Cubs right after them. 6 straight games in Chicago, both in the South Side and then the North Side, which is pretty cool next week. But you got to play up to your own potential, and that's against both the Dodgers and the White Sox. Don't play their game, play your game, and only good things will happen. And I want to say to Clayton, please stop with this cute stuff. When you play cute, you lose games. And by putting Jesus Sanchez in to pinch hit for Ronnie Simon yesterday, that basically cost you the game. There was really no reason to do it. I don't want to hear about the matchups or whatever, the analytics. Ronnie Simon was hitting, Jesus Sanchez is not. And you saw that, I think, 2 pitches, and he grounded out. That type of stuff causes you games. I don't want anything cute. I want the Marlins to play their game and keep your best hitters in If you do that versus the Dodgers, we could at least get one win this week versus them.
As we enter the month of May, it's now Monday is, let's see here, May 5th. We have a ton more games in the season. Like, it's a long season, but the month of April was the toughest month schedule-wise for the Fish, in my opinion, at least. Heading into the season, it felt like they had to tread water just, to stay somewhat relevant in the grand scheme of things. And I think they overachieved a little bit. But as we're in a new month now, the season is going to continue rolling along. What would you say is the vibe of this team, the feeling surrounding this team? It's not dismal, it's not awful, but it's also not elite, it's not great. So kind of what would you describe it as?
Young and hungry. This team,
yeah.
But my vibe, being a fan, is I'm enjoying every game for the most part. Not the blowouts like the ones that we've had over the last couple weeks, the Dodger blowout, the Seattle blowout, etc. But in most games, we are in the games. And if we're not in the games, we play till the end of the games. Like the Philadelphia game when we were down, I think, 7 runs and we scored 6, and didn't win, but that Saturday night game. But then the next day we played the same way and we won. The vibe is play your game. Every day is a new day, and keep playing young and hungry. If they play young and hungry, they will be entertaining, and fans are showing up. You mentioned it earlier, being in attendance. It was the 3rd highest paid attendance this season. For a Sunday when you're 5-6 games under 500 now. It's because of the vibe of the team. And if the Dodgers are in town, there's no season records happening because you're in May right now. But come out and support our Marlins and come see the world champions tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday.
Marlins just got to compete each and every night. They may be out talented on some nights, like against the Dodgers, but they can compete, they can fight. And when you do those things and you make the right plays, you get the timely hits, the pitchers do their job, they keep you in the ball games, it can translate into wins. LMF, thank you once again for coming on the show. It's Locked On Marlins. Let's get louder Mondays, am I right?
Let's get louder. Safe travels home to you this morning. And nice meeting you this weekend, Jeremiah.
Likewise. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. For your second listen of the day, go check out the new Locked On MLB Game Night to recap every game of Major League Baseball every night. And until next time, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.